Tonight, I'm joined by a man who has at times inspired me, at times he has mystified me, and at times he has downright terrified me. I'm proud to have on the show this evening my good friend, my colleague, my partner in crime through the remote viewing journey, Edward Riordan. Edward, how are you, my friend?
Dennis, I'm doing great, man. It's good to be
Well,
on your podcast, and yeah, man, this is going to be good. I'm feeling this is going to
yeah,
be a good one.
it always is. We've got a great history, you know, together. I started this journey really thanks to you. You put out a incredible target through YouTube, and I reached out to you randomly. And we connected, and kind of the rest is history. So I'm forever grateful for that experience.
Yeah, I think that was the QAnon ones. I think it
It
was,
it was that target is still hurting my brain. That comes back quite regularly. I think about that one.
that was a heavy lifter there.
It was, and
That
I don't
was a
want to get
weighty
ahead of
one.
ourselves, but that
Okay.
that thread, which I maybe depending on your comfort level, and you're good at redirecting me if I probe too hard, but that thread seems to come up in some of your sessions consistently. It's like that signal's just screaming at you. Uh, so
It
it's a
is, yeah.
fascinating thing.
It really is. It's like I think you can see with all of us, with myself, with you, with Dick and Daz and Nyiam, that we all kind of have a certain theme, I guess, that has driven us to
Yeah.
be here. And so yeah, that one is definitely a big one for me, and it just keeps unfolding. It's kind of like remembering the future, and
Yeah.
and documenting it, and being in the right place to get from a remote viewing standpoint to get the proper targeting to allow for it to kind of give it a place to go, you know. So
I I just wrote something. I just wrote that down, remembering the future, because I want to come back to that, and probably in the second half of our conversation. That's a powerful statement right there. I think that speaks to some of what it is that you do. But before we get into all the heavy stuff, those watching again, welcome to the Future Forecast podcast. This is our third episode here. I know we just launched it last week, having a lot of fun with it. We have some great conversations that are lined up, and I think this is going out actually in the public sector as well through Twitter, through YouTube. I think, and we might even eventually put this out there just in the podcast streaming platforms. I think that's our goal eventually. But for those of you that are not familiar with kind of our background and what we are the Future Forecasting Group. We're formerly of Crypto Viewing, and we work with remote viewers, Edward being one of them, who gather information through a structured, intuitive process. And all I can say is go look at what's out there publicly on YouTube, and then check us out at futureforecasting.com. Edward says it all the time. We do good work. It's incredible work. It's valuable work with remote viewing, and it's validating work. It's work. If you're skeptical about remote viewing, this isn't all. We do our mysteries targets, which are a lot of fun, but we also have a ton of documented, verifiable targets. Edward, if you want to talk a little bit about just kind of what the team does.
what is important to me and very valuable with the work that we do is that um, we we do important work, and that is what keeps me here. If we weren't doing important work, I wouldn't even want to be here on the
Mhm.
team, you know, uh, because that's the driver. That's a big driver, and we have been doing important work since day one,
Yeah.
and in my opinion, it that's intensifying. So it's like we're kind of getting closer to what it is that we're all remote viewing towards, you
Yeah.
know, and I my strong feeling is that we'll get to a point where it all makes sense, you know. what we've been doing for the past 5 years. Yeah. And then, even longer, but as a group for the past 5 years. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's intense.
It's weird. I had an emotional moment tonight. Wasn't even thinking about what we're talking about now, but it was about all these little intuitive things where it's leading. Um, and I broke down. It was just one of those moments like you just felt like, wow, everything, I can't quite see it yet, but you see it beginning to coalesce. And it's like, wow, there really is meaning behind everything. And I think everybody on the team, we all have our own personal journeys, and then we've created this collective journey as well.
Yeah.
Each are equally significant, to everybody involved. Um, but like Edward said, it's important work that we do, and for those of you that are curious about it, again, I recommend starting with if you're skeptical, the world events sessions, which they're just fascinating to watch. Every month, the team will call out the headlines that are going to be in the news in the upcoming month, and each and every month, their predictions come true time and again. And it's hard to wrap your head around it if this is something that you're new to. And like, wow, they can see the future intentionally and write it down and tell us about it. It's a fascinating thing.
Yeah. And what else is pretty great about it is that by being on, with a team,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we are continually being prompted to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas if we weren't, if we didn't have the team, we would all be remote viewing and doing our work, but we may not be that disciplined to do future events every single
Right.
month.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, uh, we're making a point of making sure that we do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Accountability.
yeah, and it's like, it needs to be done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it kind of depends on how you want to look at it, because like some people can look at it like, let's see if those guys can really predict a future event for
Mm-hmm.
next month, and maybe they may be impressed by something or skeptical about something, or along those lines. But from my point of view of it, isn't like that at all. It's not about getting hits and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. It's more about the continued working of being in that space continually over
Yeah.
and over and over again. And because what we're doing is, it's important. I mean, that word is going to come up a lot,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's how I feel. And so doing it every month is important for us to do it every month. It's got a real good place,
Yeah.